All right, so welcome to Mike's painting podcast. We're going to paint some models.
I'm out.
Yeah. How's the week been? We got Leo here today. I hope everyone out there knows what keyword Cupid is. And I know I'm in it all the freaking time. So if you don't, take a look. And I guess I'll put a link up. How has your week been, Josh?
Been good. We've Phoenix has had some crazy weather this year. We've gotten a lot more rain than we've had. I don't know, since I've lived here. So we lost power a few times, 80-mile-an-hour winds, a bunch of rain.
Damn.
So yeah. Aside from that, just same old. Yeah.
What are you doing work-wise this week?
Client sites. Yeah. So nice. I'm on page, on site, interlinking, keyword research. That's pretty much my standard that I work off of. I get involved in the kind of the marketing and the sales side too, which is helpful to keep everything integrated with the agencies I'm working for. So yeah, it's been good.
Right on. I know what you've been doing, Brad. Corey, what are you up to, dude?
Well, besides just getting over coronavirus here in the house, I had to bring my wife down yesterday.
Have you been snorting that horse urine or whatever you were talking about?
No, I use that. That's how I kicked it in the day.
Nice.
There's there's some after effects, but other than that, yeah, same thing. Just I've been in Keyword Cupid, coming up with content briefs for my content writers, which is what I need to talk to Leo about. I do have some questions that I want to ask him while we're live, as far as like getting those together. But yeah, so I've just been putting that together. I'm bringing on a new graphic designer, and then.
Well, this question might be a good lead-in then for your questions, Corey. So okay. I know I was talking about link building in the title, but like every week, it's not going to be what I decided it's going to be about. So actually, it kind of is, because the question is about SEO and competition, and it's a few paragraphs actually. Hi there. We are running a small web shop selling vegetarian dog food. We noticed that we get a good amount of traffic from Google despite not ranking on top of the page, and decided that SEO might be worthwhile to invest in. I personally took some courses on SEO, but what I couldn't find an answer anywhere is the following. Most SEO courses say do your keyword research, and then they show quite a simple keyword research. Hint, hint. In our case, this is a dog food online, vegetarian dog food, vegan dog food, and plant-based dog food. However, vegetarian and vegan
research is done.
Well, yeah, exactly. Vegetarian, he says, however, vegetarian and vegan keywords are already taken by big brands.
Should dogs ever eat vegetarian
that's a
dog
good
food anyway?
Question, dude, to be honest.
That's part of their keyword research. Answer that question for Brad.
That's the persona, right, guys? That's like understanding what, like, is it a negative thing or a positive thing?
Sounds like something my wife would try, to be honest.
Yeah. They're taken by big brands, and then, needless to say, dog food's more competitive. Plant-based dog food that they rank number 4 for is not so competitive, but when I check the volume on this keyword, it's like 100 searches a month, so pretty low volume. I extended my research and found out that vegetables for dogs is a low competition and relatively high keyword volume. So my question is, should I try to optimize my website for very high-end keywords like dog food or vegetarian dog food, or go after low competition, relatively higher volume keywords such as vegetables for dogs? In general, how should I take competition into account while doing SEO? Your thoughts are much appreciated.
I think first off, I'd have to say that your Hooked on Phonics is working exceptionally well, Mike. You did a very good job reading it.
I'm learning how to read.
Yeah, phenomenally. Yes.
So this is a good one, because I know we all, actually everyone in here, we've talked about this a lot. I've talked about this a lot with everyone in here. And those competition keywords, I think, is some of the areas where people start to make mistakes, at least, like start to not understand who their competition is. So you have anything to say there, Leo? Like, I know that you're all over this, dude.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say, specifically also about this sort of like industry, I guess, the pets. All right, let's just start from the very, and again, like, apologies if I am overlapping in someone else's thoughts. No. I'll just try to keep it like sort of concise as much as I can. But first of all, like you're starting, like you just said that there's a lot of competition in the industry, which is expected. It's a big sort of industry for pets and everything that has to do with their food. So all in all, if you're not, because we don't know the website, right? So what website are we talking about? Are we talking about a brand new website? Are we talking about Amazon? Maybe
this one, yeah, they've got some keyword rankings for like lower volume size. Let's say we're maybe a year or two old, then without knowing what we're doing.
And a few rankings. So in a sense, we haven't established yet authority to Google's eyes that you know what you're talking about, that you are a qualified kind of like lead in order to be exposed to users and just show your expertise. And the first and the foremost thing is not to go after like best vegan food for dogs, because again, this is a very generic thing. Like we're talking about what breed are you talking about? Why? Like the questions that you asked. So personally, I would go after more informational terms, and the terms that I usually say that they have a soul, kind of, in a sense that they are addressing a specific user and a specific funnel of the user. I have done a similar thing with for a course that I had in IMG, and what we're doing, like I wanted to do like pet research, and instead of just going and talking about pet food and pet toys and dog toys, what I did is that I went to Facebook and I sort of like started putting the keywords that I wanted. Like for example, Petco. I wanted to target females 25 to 35. And then Facebook.
That's where I'm targeting, baby.
I was like, you actually say that? It's gonna deviate the conversation. But
yeah, I get distracted easily. So
listen, I just recently got married, so I shouldn't say that. But
congratulations, by the way, Leo.
Yes,
thank you guys. Thank you.
Congratulations, man.
For the terms of the research, it was females 25 to 35. Morgan, if you're listening, that was only for the research. And then like Facebook gives you sort of an idea of what exactly are the next elements of them. For example, like it seems that if you are a female 25 to 35 and you have a dog, you are more likely to be in a relationship than to be married or to be single. So then you can go to the next step, which is, and again, like you trust Facebook with me, and then you can go to their interest and see that the next interest was Verazio engagement rings. And if you go and you put those in Google in quotes, so you can find the articles that contain all of those things. For example, female, getting married, dogs. What you will get for the most part is things that have to do with how millennials are mostly buying houses for their dogs, or they want to involve their dogs into the ceremonies. And I can show you like the research that I did for that specific project, just to give you an idea of like all the different topics. How do you share screen here? Share screen.
Let me, I wonder if I can share someone's screen. Let me see how I can do this.
I think I can share mine.
There you go. Okay, I'm gonna add it to this. Yeah, there we go.
So this was, for example, like, I'll just show you like what happened. What was pets? It was course. So once you do the keyword research, and the way that I would approach it is, it's sort of find out every little bit that has to do with what you're talking about. Let's just tackle first the vegan, like find everything that has to do around this, like vegan foods for big dogs, for small dogs, for huskies, for dogs who have like sensitive stomachs. Like I used to have a Bison Frise, which are like the most sensitive stomach ever. So you can put them all, and then you can put them in a clustering tool, or you can look them yourself, like the SERP pages, and you can find different sort of intents that emerge. For my specific example, and the one that I'm bringing, it was when I did this sort of very niche strategy of finding out only the keywords that have to do with the intent of a millennial getting married. What happened is that there was those clusters that emerged that had to do with all these different topics, like dog collar wedding. So you open this and you find all the keywords that have to do with dog collars and wedding, dog flower collar wedding, dog lace dog collar, wedding collar, bow ties. The bow ties are related to the floral dresses, but obviously they are different. And you see here all the different keywords that have to do with this sort of niche. And just to conclude this, there's a lot of things that we forget sometimes. For example, you're thinking dogs, and you're thinking right off the bat, dog toys, pets, like foods and houses and stuff. And there's so many more interesting keywords and intents that exist.
I love it. I think that this answers, and I hope that people have picked up on this, how this addresses competition directly. Like I think that's a really big point for people to take away, is that this addresses like where you can actually slip through competition in a lot of cases where there's no potentially no competition in some industries, you know.
Right. So I
think that was an amazing share right there, and I hope I will actually go drop this video to the person who asked that question after this and let them go through this. But like Fletch, you've been working around a lot of like persona stuff right now. To me, I start seeing this as a marketing funnel right there, and instead of looking like I'm going after and competing with everyone that wants to sell dog food or wants to sell dog collars, now I know I'm looking after someone in a certain age range that's getting married. And now I know where I want to go, maybe put my forum links. I'm going to pull this back to like backlinks too, because I mentioned it in the title. Because now this can drive my whole freaking SEO campaign. Everything I'm doing going forward can be driven here. What are your thoughts, man, on the first step of this right here?
Yeah. So like one of the things, well, there's been a couple things. So I've gone through Leo's course he mentioned there. It really helped me start to see some things that, just kind of going, link heavy SEO agency style, you tend to forget about as far as the research you need to put in to really understand, kind of what's going on the web and where people are. Even in things that like I've done, like hands-on owned the business, there were a lot of things I was overlooking. Like the keyword research I do now takes, I don't know, maybe 50 times longer than it did before. But the result of implementing that keyword research and understanding, kind of the nature of where somebody might be in the kind of buyer journey, right? Call it a funnel, call it wherever you want. Like implementing those things, we're getting like, snippet position zeros in like a week with for a lot of really good terms that people are just earlier in the buyer cycle than going after the kind of the big keyword that you see the competition and maybe the search value. And they're creating they're creating traffic. We're getting people on site. The people that are on site are clicking through, because it's kind of like, if you're doing like if somebody's doing any kind of search related to, dog, tie, wedding, right? That kind of thing. There's likely very, very little competition that a well-structured page and some interlinking is not going to beat. Those are people that are someplace in the buyer cycle that most SEOs are not addressing, right? There's
and it's a very short. I think it's a very short path as well when you look at that.
It's just one or two maybe hops to actually making a purchase decision, right? Yeah. And so that's been one of the nice things about kind of readdressing my, I guess, the foundations, right? It's kind of like, oh yeah, I know how to do keyword research, right? Through a tool, you find your search volume, you go after the 5 biggest terms, that's your anchor text, you optimize some pages for it, and then you just call it a day. And the more times I've looked at websites that are kind of, stuck, or they're not getting the results that, would be expected, based on the competition or whatever comes out of these tools, almost all the time is that they haven't established themselves as a credible expert in the space, right? They don't have enough content there. It doesn't have all the supporting keywords. And what I have started kind of looking at is like a constellation of things that need to be in place to make sense and make meaning out of a given topic or a search phrase or whatever it might be. And yeah, like the technology in Keyword Cupid, my process on doing the keyword research, it's really, most of what we're doing now is generating good content.
It's whether the content that goes on the site.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I bought, Constellation SEO, right? That's kind of going to be the way I talk about this, because in that way too, like a lot of people talked about like silos, right? And silos tend to be isolated from one another. You're not supposed to, link over and all that. And it's the web doesn't really work that way, right? AI and natural language processing, there's all this overlap. And so some of the stars, so to speak, in one constellation, it might share those stars in common with another constellation. And so even like the cluster concept, people thought of those as being discrete, but in actuality, there's a lot more overlap, which then gets into how a website gets crawled and then, sent up the chain into the database, algorithm run on it. And that's really where meaning is derived. And Google then tests with the SERP to see how that works.
What's really interesting, and because we're doing some new sites in one of our major markets, and we're doing some new lead gen sites, and everyone knows that we're into rehab, and most people know that I'm a freaking addict. So there are things that I have searched in my life when I've run out of something or I'm about to go into withdrawal that somebody would never think of as a marketer if they've not been through this situation, right? But the cool thing is there's data that we can mine. And then you have people writing math like Leo here, where I am actually seeing these groups and these ideas being pulled out of that data without having to put that implicit knowledge into it. I might be at a little bit of an advantage because I can start my keyword research with a little bit more implicit knowledge. But when people start to group and sort these topics together with the right math, at least what I think the right math is, I'll just say that is my opinion, that it starts to do things that I don't think even advanced SEOs can do with their gut. There are gut calls to make after that point, but it will pull out things that people have not. I don't think I've ever seen anyone that's capable of doing that, because we don't all have the knowledge of everyone in the world, right? We only have the data that we can gather. Okay, so it's just I think that people really miss a huge point, and I think that people are missing that fact to the point where I'm seeing most people lose traffic these days rather than gain traffic, at least when I see them, right? Like the stuff I see.
On that point,
yeah.
Mike, to your point, like grabbing that research and that data, like on some of those longer tail things that would never enter a marketer's mind. I want to go back to what Leo's share was. Leo, the database that you uploaded all of that info, where are you? And I've been through all your blogs. I don't think I've been through your course, but I definitely, now that I know it's there, I'm gonna do it. But where are you finding that you're the best data to pull? Like, is it like you do the key? Let's say I use SEMrush. I can do a keyword search, or I can grab a top ranking page that's ranking for 1,000 keywords and drop that in there, and then pull that into Keyword Cupid. But where are you finding the best? I don't even know if this is a good question, but the best kind of results that you're getting with the content that you put out there. What is feeding? What database are you pulling into that is your preferred database and method for getting that information?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think it's the question that should be asked very many times, and sort of unpack the different sort of methodologies that exist. Just to answer quickly your question, when I have an idea, and that's why I usually, and that's why I love Fletch, because I don't even have to explain what I want. He has
There's
already
multiple reasons why I love Fletch, but we won't get into that.
Very good. But that's one of the reasons, and thank you for correcting me, Brad, because it's this is exactly the point. When you start with the sort of the persona, right, and you start with the idea. All right, we have that person, that person who wants to buy vegan food for their dog, and now we're understanding why. What I usually do once I have that specific mental picture, first of all, I create a lot of the persona. I create a persona who is very relatable to that person. That's who I want to post to that blog for conversions and for other purposes. But what I usually do is that I have created tools that I have released with communities, and that do this exercise that I'm going to talk about, but people can do this manually. But what you can do is that you can just go to Google and you can put, vegan food, dog, 50-year-old single, whatever, in a location if you want. So once you have this persona, by putting those keywords in quotes, what you will get is that you will get the specific articles that are ranking and have in the content all those keywords that you're interested for. Once you get those URLs and you put them into an organic research, you will get the very few keywords that those URLs are ranking for. Those are not going to be 1,000 sort of keywords, and they shouldn't be. Sure. And what I'm advocating about is that if you go to those massive I call them Neil Patel pages, where because there's an authoritative site, they're ranking for a lot of the things. But the question that should be asked there is that is this page going to last a year or 5 years down the line? And I have experiences from clients who have seen this whole thing happening, where they had a page that was ranking for many keywords, and then once SEOs start understanding that there is value in those long tails, they created specific posts about those long tails. So now it was de-optimized. That's why I usually care about the pages that are very focused in a specific idea, and they're ranking for 10, 20 keywords, and that's fine with me because I'm doing so iteratively, and I'm collecting a list of 50, 100, 200 URLs. I'm getting their organic keywords, and also I'm narrowing it down into the first top 20 positions from SEMrush, Ahrefs, or whatever tool you're using, mainly because I want to focus on only the keywords that are highly related to this URL. Not the long tails.
What's interesting is when you're doing a lot of SEO, you start to I pay a lot of attention to Search Console and visibility and new content coming up, and you start to see patterns. Like when I link build, I tend to see CTR go up first and then impressions follow. But when I put up new content, I bring this up because you mentioned advanced operators and phrase match, but I start to see phrase match keywords come through first on pages a lot. Especially in markets where I know there's competition, that you start to see that happening when you've done these kind of targeted pages properly. You start to see these modified searches come through Search Console. It's very interesting. So Corey, when you were talking about a database, are you also wondering about what tools he's using to get original data, using Ahrefs, SEMrush, and then also ranking data from sites you have? What was that one of your questions too?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because you have the options in there. The answer that you gave, by the way, Dr. Leo, everybody should know he's a doctor. And Dr. Fletch, I think aren't you a doctor now, Fletch?
I dropped out before I finished.
Yeah.
I think Cam's close to a doctor, isn't he?
Yeah, Cam, I think is a doctor.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you mentioned was really helpful. But as far as when your Keyword Cupid is asking where the data source is being pulled from, it says SEMrush, organic.
Oh yeah.
SEMrush.
Why? Yeah.
So how would you import what you just explained into a spreadsheet, and then what would you upload and call that?
Yeah. So the reason that I have all these options, by the way, is for ease of use, because sometimes people, they just want to export something from Ahrefs or from SEMrush, and they don't want to care about formatting, and they just want to upload it. So the tool processes both CSV and Excel. You don't have to select. The difficult part here is that once we're talking about volumes and difficulty and position, which are all metrics and columns that I'm using in order to calculate metrics such as fragmentation of a URL, just as average volume of a URL, and all those things, I need to know the format of the file. And the only reason that I'm asking where you got this data from is because there's no standardized way that the tool are using it. Sometimes even within Ahrefs, you have a column called CPC, and then from another report, it's called cost per click. So I don't know what's the correct version. So for the purpose that the way that I described, I have this version of custom and all metrics. This is the data type is custom, where you put just keyword, volume, difficulty, and CPC, and I know what you're talking about. Otherwise, I mean, people were uploading things from if you want to upload things from Google Search Console, it's going to be very different. The extract from Ahrefs, but I think you gave me a really good segue to mention something that I have found a lot, and it's not obvious. So an easy and kind of lazy, but not in a bad way. I know that it's a very difficult thing to do the keyword research correctly, but the easiest way is to go to all those tools in their Keyword Explorer, Keyword Magic Tool, however they call it, and just put the main keyword and then just see the list that it spits out.
Right.
The problem with this, and this is what I was showcasing at the course, is that, for example, if you search IMG, I wanna sort of compete with IMG, the community. So what I'm going to Google, and what I'm going to into SEMrush, and what I did is that I put Internet Marketing Gold in the Keyword Explorer, and I also went to the organic rankings and I put their main URL. The keywords that came out of this research were completely different. And the reason that it should be, educated is because when you put Internet Marketing Gold in the Keyword Explorer, in the Keyword Magic Tool of SEMrush, one of the keywords that you're getting back is Internet Marketing Gold Coast Australia. So the tool, all it gives you back is the keywords that it thinks that are related to what you said, but it doesn't have the context of Google. So personally, I hardly ever do it anymore, and if I do it, it's just because I'm lazy. Because I don't want to rank for SEMrush or Ahrefs.
That's all I do because I'm lazy. Yeah.
So are you then supplementing with any other keyword tools?
Yeah.
Absolutely, dude. I honestly, and Leo has great answers to these. But my theory and my thought on this is that you, Cam, stop distracting me when I'm talking, brother. My theory is that you want to pull in as much relevant data as possible to feed it. Like the better that data is going in, the less cleanup you have pulling it out and building those clusters, in my opinion. But I want to hear Leo's answer to this. Like, I know that I think I know what you're going to say, but I would love to hear you explain it.
Yeah. So obviously, like the tool, what it will do is it will start sort of segmenting the different things, separating. And it's kind of difficult to explain what it does because it looks at 100 dimensions, it scores them based on the page, and then creates this multi-dimensional vector where it just sort of plots the keywords into certain neighborhoods and clusters, as we say, based on the similarity that they have with the SERPs. So if you put keywords that are unrelated, they will have some separation, and you will create this sort of format of the neighborhoods and states, or whatever you want to call it. Obviously, it's a projection of how I'm interpreting these 100 dimensions. But for all intended purposes, the better keyword research is the one that has the cleanest sort of the cleanest version, because it's a zero-sum game. Once you provide to the keyword to the tool random things, it will try to put it with something else, and in a sense you are gaming it, or you're trying to sort of like to confuse it, because sometimes things might relate with different other intents. So the best thing that you can do is sort of introduce keywords that have the soul that I spoke before, and people also ask our keywords like that. It's a good idea to also include your existing rankings, mainly because what you can do is that include your existing rankings and existing keywords, and then keywords from your gap analysis. So once you do this, you will get those clusters that are a mix of them. And then we have functionality in the tool right now where once you click on a specific cluster that you want to rank, you can also see from your existing domain which URLs are already ranking for the majority of those keywords. So in a sense, we can tell you which URL you can go and optimize rather than go and create a new page or remember what page you had. And also you can analyze fragmentation in a sense, how different is a URL, how many classes does it rank, because sometimes it's not the best candidate to optimize. And I can explain more with visuals, obviously.
And that right there at the event this year is something that we're going to be focusing on, is really understanding, like, when is cannibalization actually cannibalization? When is it? And I wanted to have a conversation here about intent, because I've had some comments lately. And I have to tell Cam that Steph just decided to like design my office finally. It's not a background, right?
An pantry,
I promise. So that's why there's an AR-10 back there in the corner.
It's better than my blank wall.
Right? So intent, I've had people tell me lately that intent is not a thing at all. And I understand where people are coming from with certain things that they say. So I think it's a cool conversation. I'm actually bummed you can't come too, but I am going to get out there. And I told you I want to drag Leo out to your place too. So I want to drag as many of these guys as we can and have a good conversation.
Sam's not going to make it out?
And
he's not bummed at all, I can tell you that. But
I personally believe, so I've had people tell me intent's not a factor in search. So I can see that. I could make an argument for that in my mind. I think I could. But I personally think Google's goal is to understand empathy 100% and be able to predict and give people what they want instantly. And that's what they would love to do, right? So to me, maybe we could say, I can argue it's not a direct factor, but if we're talking about competition and direct page relevance and the way pages are grouped and the way different metrics flow and the right pages are grouped, I think that intent is a huge, almost like V factor from that angle, because it affects everything, like who you're competing with, how you're building your backlinks. And so I'm wondering, like, Fletcher, anybody, Leo, Brad, like, intent, like, how do you understand intent? And then we'll get into like why it is a factor in search, right?
Well, like for me, like there's a couple of things I kind of just try to start with things I know, right? And then build from there. One of the things we know is that Google's collecting a ton of information on us and our search history, our behavior online, especially if we're on a Google platform doing a search, right? It's why it'll show you, a highlighted result you've clicked on before. Well, that entire search history and your behavior online is cataloged along, with your location and who they presume you to be and all that kind of thing, right? So like from that, it's like, well, there's really not really many different purposes for them to spend that amount of money and those resources than to understand behavior and who someone is so that they can deliver a more personalized experience. Like the SERP is not really the SERP. It's really literally different for most people who search for a given thing based on who you are. But like, we've already seen this a long time ago based on where you are. Like if I'm looking up something in Australia, I'm going to get a different result than somebody's actually in Australia, right? Just because I typed the keyword in doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get the same result. And even if I switch my IP to be there, it may not be the same result as somebody else that's got a long history of behavior there. And just like what you said, like Google's wanting to almost be able to serve us a SERP before we've typed it in, right? They want to be able to do as good of a job at understanding the personalized nature of what we find as valuable, right? And so, like, I think to understand intent, we would need to define it. So we're all at least talking about the same thing. From the way I look at intent is that somebody types something in, right, to the search. Well, something happened that directly preceded that, right? If like how to treat a bee sting. Well, one of the things that probably happened right before that is you got stung by a bee, right? And then maybe you want to know whether it's a bee sting or a wasp or something else because you do something different with those things. And that kind of speaks to what Leo was talking about, like really getting into the mind or the person who is doing this sort of thing. And so what we're doing with content is really trying to understand the intent of why someone would type something in that is a search phrase, right? As a keyword. If you can get into kind of that place and spend a little more time there than you probably think is necessary, then you can understand how to write a much better piece of content that Google's going to understand and appreciate and be able to match up with somebody that's in line with what you're considering as far as where they have been and what they're about right before they typed in that search phrase, right? It's also going to help you know where they probably want to go next, which is going to be, for me, the outbound links to other pages on the website that are going to be, maybe more potentially, instead of informational, maybe call to action and offer, right? You can buy this, vinegar and it helps take the sting out or whatever it might be, right? Or call somebody to come and remove the bee's nest from your, eave and relocate it or whatever it might be, right? And so, like, the biggest change that's happened over the last year for me is that I spent a lot more time doing this than I had in the previous 6 years, right? Previous 6 years was a lot more big keywords, anchor text heavy, heavy links. And I find we're getting better results now focusing on content and that customer journey and making sure that the right stuff's on those websites.
Point, Fletch, you brought up a good analogy with your bee sting one, but I mean, I got bit by a spider, and I'm doing all my research, and I realized the websites.
Is that how you got COVID?
Yeah, that's how I got. That's how I went bald and everything. It all started. But I got these spider senses though.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I've always wanted that. I've bitten, multiple black widows, but never got the spidey sense. Disappointment, honestly. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah. So, but I realized that all the websites that I'm on, looking for answers about this spider bite, they're all pest control websites. So that's exactly like what you're saying. Is that pest control companies weren't just like, you got spiders, here's how to get rid of them. Like, I wasn't asking that questions. I was like, man, I obviously need a pest control company because I just got bit.
I don't want this to happen again.
And I want to go to, I'm sure people in here have noticed, like, when they're in their account, or even if they're just on a browser and they've been doing a search for a topic like that you see that the auto suggest will change and populate based on what your previous searches were. Kind of like what you're talking about with, stuff you can call it like gain scoring and things like that, Fletch, where you're, the next step in the search in the funnel is this. And there's writing that Google's done, and Google employees and inventees have written about this stuff for years. And it's very interesting when when they are doing things like pre-populating auto-suggest with things based on what you've just searched, that it's I don't understand why people don't see that context or intent is extremely important in this process. So so I guess how did we define intent then? Intent is it context or is intent? Like what's the final definition we have for intent right here?
Crickets. I'll say some things.
I'll make one up.
So for me, context helps us better understand almost everything. So to understand intent, we probably need to look into the context. Since I hear about a boxing. Oh, yay. Hey, look out.
Dude, you got Mario ready. Brad, you get to box Mario, bro.
I don't know who you're fighting, Mario, but it ain't me.
Yeah, dude, Brad's like, I will not fight Mario. I will not fight Mario.
Oh. Even if on the off chance that I'm winning, I know Mario, all he's got to do is kick me in the head and I'm gone. So
yeah,
that's a big mess to clean up if he explodes his head too. So
yeah.
Yeah, so
sorry, Fletch, go ahead.
No, it's all good. I can get back into my swing here. So to understand the context for me, intent becomes more clear the more the context I consider. So if somebody's looking up bee sting or they're looking up American cockroaches, it's not just some random thing that popped in their mind, most likely. So they probably found a roach and then they're like, what kind of roaches do we have in, XYZ state, country, whatever it might be. And now they're like, I want a picture of an American cockroach. And then, because even like if you're going to call a pest control company, right? I'm kind of trying to stay within that example just so it doesn't wind up mixing and confusing things too much. Like when you make a call, like especially like for a dude, it's like, oh yeah, hey, I got American cockroaches and they look like they've got a nest in the wall. It's like if you got a little more information about your situation, you kind of feel more credible to be able to call and ask for the right kind of help, right? And so I try to watch my own behavior online as I do stuff and try to research it and figure it out. And then I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. I bet other people like me are doing the same kind of things. And so that to me is about intent. It's about like, why did they start this journey of search, right? Where they type in one term, they maybe click on a result, they maybe click through, they maybe go back to search, type in a different term, whatever it might be. And I like kind of trying to understand where somebody may be, why they're doing these certain behaviors for searches or clicking on links, which is how they like when you do a search, that's like, you're submitting it to a database to get a result back, but then everything else you're doing, clicking on a SERP, that's clicking links. That's how humans navigate the internet. And so trying to match up that path, it's kind of analogous in a lot of ways to a funnel. And so for intent, I try to understand where somebody is, where they're trying to get to, and then put together a path for them to be able to navigate that. So I think I know that's,
so can we define it as an intended result or an intended action?
Yeah. What's their kind of when are they going to get to a place where they're like, okay, I've solved the problem?
Right. So they're right. Like what their intent, how are they going to solve it, and what is the end transaction at the end? Essentially, it's like the path. It's a funnel. I mean, there's ways to say this, but yeah. So intent,
it's a path.
I guess we can define as it's not the individual queries, but it's the pathway to the transaction or the action at the end.
Yeah, because even like informational pages about American cockroaches or something, it's an informational page, but there's a reason somebody was looking for that information, right? They're trying to identify something they saw run across their floor, or they just saw a commercial on TV and it made them start wondering if they've got some problems with their house or, a business or whatever it might be. And then this is getting into like some of the stuff that Leo talked about that were in that course that I've now taken. It's like, do American cockroaches carry diseases? Right. And like, what do termite nests look like? Where are termite nests? What type of termites do we have in South Australia? Like all these different things. It's like the number of keywords are just, they're way bigger than what, Leo was talking about.
That gets back to the beginning of this on the keyword research. And a comment that was in that question and what we're talking about was that here, I'll just put this up. It says, need a marketing plan before SEOing in quotes. And A little more, I said a little more explanation would be that you need to know who is buying and what their pain is so you can eliminate unneeded competition. And that's why I agreed. I said it's super important for sure. Well, and before you can understand that, or before people come to us and they want to automate this, they want to automate that, they want to build a network. And we are very big proponents of building a network and personalizing throughout that network and converting things into money. But to know if you need to build a new website, like when I look at a local site and then look at like, cockroaches and different factors about cockroaches, my campaign now can be educated in, do I want to put that all on one website, or do I want to split this into different groups and actually have one website that's actually giving some of that information and then funnel that traffic through the ClickFunnels, through the clickstream to the website where the transaction is going to happen. Because I personally believe multiple websites lead to better rankings because of the traffic moving back and forth. That's just personal view. I'm not saying that, not a topic for now, but without understanding this, like from day one, like what you just said and what Leo said in the beginning, I really do think that you are kind of just taking your pistol and aiming at the target, closing your eyes, turning your head and taking a shot, right? And even like very, very great spammers that I know, they understand these topics before they're out there spamming, whether that's email, whether that's on the web, like however they're doing it, they're doing this first. There's a reason why they're spending the money to inbox emails, or they're spending the money to build websites, right? You don't build them for shits and giggles. I mean, that's not a business in my opinion. So
a lot of people forget that.
Yes. I think that's one of the things that Brad really helped me with in my career, was understanding like the why I should be doing what I can do rather than, just doing it and then shitting on the wall and seeing what sticks, or throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing, what sticks there.
Well, and that's something like, I think that the kind of SEO space has been, I think people that are more technical have gravitated toward it. But like one of the things I've enjoyed most about getting to know Leo better is like this is really about human behavior and what facilitates somebody making a decision. And what we're doing with SEO is just putting the conditions in place such that somebody can make a decision. And so all of the technical stuff that we're doing is really just helping somebody get to a place where they see something they recognize, they begin wanting it, they can justify it, and then they make the click or purchase the thing or make the call or whatever it might be. And
there was a great comment before, and this is there's actually data, and I wanted to mention like conversational search and voice. I'll put that up while I'm looking for this.
Ryan,
right here. I read sometime that over 50% of searches are unique in their language, all the long tail. Dude, my son, who is 6 years old, ended up buying a Kindle book and installing it with a single voice command in his freaking Alexa yesterday. So let me say something about intent and
mine ordered pirate toys and candy from the fucking TV.
This is my point.
Hey Alexa, can you send me?
That's better than ordering pirate candy and toys.
Yeah.
That would be.
I'm like, sweet. I didn't even know it was my anniversary.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing, though. Like, I think in 2016, the data that I looked at was like 20% of searches were voice related or whatnot, and that data just is growing. I think 2023 we're going to exceed 8 billion digital assistants or AI assistants like Google Voice and things like that, and Alexa, and so. We've got the Internet of Things where a freaking refrigerator can order a loaf of bread for you. And we can't forget that we are a marketing-driven society. And if all these devices, like, it's easy to remember, like, we're just doing, like, we talk about SEO and we talk about websites, but websites are now so ingrained in so many different facets of life that you can't separate it anymore in my eyes. At least that's what I think our future is. What are your guys' thoughts on all of that? Like, do you see that as the future, or do you think that there's a separation, or should it kind of merge in people's minds? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, like with voice, it's a lot easier to speak kind of natural language as a question. Like Google's going to have to try to understand the intent of the question. There's going to be more words involved with the search, right? That's something I do consider, because like as SEOs, not all, but like I kind of know who I came up around and the people that I've worked with, and you know, they're like 3-word searches, like you know,
that's a typed search,
Audi mechanic Phoenix, right? And it's like that's what people were kind of trained to type, and that's what they think search is, when it's really there's a lot bigger explanation of what's going on behind the scenes. And that for me is something that I think is going to shift some of the search results, because with voice, Google's going to get more of the intent available to it. It's going to have the surrounding words, and it's going to be phrased more as a question.
They're rewriting. I'm sure that some of you've seen this, but they're rewriting title tags. They're rewriting the title tags. They're generating title tags for different searches and stuff. And you can find this on any of the major websites that they started. I thought someone was trying to say something. I'm sorry. No. But so if they're generating title tags and they're starting, what's that?
I said Leo is just crying. Don't mind him.
It's so good. Like I just want to point it out. Like I've been in like various webinar channels and everything. There's hardly any SEOs that are talking about the things that you guys are discussing here. We are discussing like the empathy, the searches, like the website being more than just a portal for free kind of organic searches. And I think that this is, again, sorry to interrupt you, Mike. Just finish your thought. And
no, go for it.
No, I have so many things, so many thoughts for. Obviously, I didn't want to interrupt the stream of thought, but it's exactly that. Like, first of all, like to your point, I think that humans and like marketing. What is it? It's directing yourself to the path of the lower friction. Why Amazon became Amazon is because you can just have buy now quickly. Why would you go and type once you can speak? And that's why, like, for example, Comcast voice command, where you are speaking to the remote, has become so much more rather than the navigating. So I would expect that eventually what we're having, and Nielsen does this with TV, and TV is a good medium to just see what's happening because it's the first introduction and it's the oldest medium. But now they have TVs where you can just look at things and just directly with it captures your eye movement, and you can just don't even speak, just look at things, and then you can click. So there's going to be a lot more, I think, that are happening. And voice, to your point, not only like it's such an amazing medium for engineers because, first of all, inflection, gender, age, all those things you can mine through the voice, and you can mine them easily. Like there's so many classification algorithms that can do that. So I don't see why a platform would prefer automated texting. Like go automate voice. Like how are you going to automate voice? You can easily understand machine generated voice, but my Selenium you can't. So I think that voice is going to become, and you are one of the few people that I have talked to recently that has such an attention to it, and I think it's a brilliant sort of a theme to be looking at for the years to come. Not only for
like you talking about look to speak too, and look to speak like eye tracking. We have to remember that like it's important to remember that Google is like the entity Alphabet. We can call it whatever we want. These people that have this technology are behind so much of what's happening in advancement in different device types and TV and everything, man. I mean, my TVs, I love. I don't hide from it because it's my industry, and there's like we can get into the like privacy debate because that's a whole nother factor, right?
Sure.
But from a marketing standpoint and as a business owner, I look at it from that, and I need to understand where what they're doing, what they're capable of, and then it's our job to kind of break down like what factors are a factor in search and on that platform, and then what factors are a factor on the TVs, and kind of break it apart and determine where we need to put what efforts for different campaigns.
Yeah.
My wall was great then too. Thanks, Cam. And one of the things that is interesting, because Cam did mention QDD, and I mentioned this to Leo, and I do find it fascinating the way that Google is building their SERPs right now, the way that they are actually letting pieces of content. You can see, okay, I'll say it this way. You can watch a new query, and Leo said this based on like when he did the talk about long tail queries. Once SEOs realize that there's traffic in a long tail query. Well, if you take a new query that's not highly trafficked and it starts to become trafficked, it will start with like an element, say like a video that has like auto-generated moments underneath it, right? And then some list of sites that are unrelated. And then over time, what you'll see is maybe a book will come in, or if it's the news that are trending, some news and top story will come in, or more videos will come in, or other SERP features will come in, and they've literally said that they're bidding on this. Like these features, like the other features in search, like in video, in images, those content pieces need to earn their place in that SERP. And that is basically QDD. Like if you see SERPs trending a certain way, then it's time to pay attention on what's trending it and beat it out in that platform. So like if you see that they're filling that search with video, you better have a video in video search that's doing better than the videos, at least the ones that are displayed, right below the ones on the bottom, and move up a little bit more and try to get in there. So we can start to, I personally think multimedia is the way to go. I think you need the video, you need the images, you need all that context for that page, but there's also decisions to be made on, like, should I focus my efforts marketing this video because video is taking half of the real estate on that SERP, right? And so it's a very interesting topic, and we're going to run out of time here. So I think, Corey, did you have any other questions while we have Leo? We have to jump off right at noon today and go into the members at the event pre-webinar with Leo, but go for it.
So yeah, real quick, Leo. So then when you take when you pull your content brief, let's say you've got it on the spreadsheet. Usually I find the spreadsheet easier to read. Let's say I've pulled competition. All the keywords that are on there are from one of my competitors, but then you've got content briefs where you got one main theme and then 10 keywords, and then you've got another theme with 10 more keywords. Are you then using that to generate like an individual piece of content based on each one of your themes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, I had this discussion before with I think one of the members here. But so the reason that this is difficult to respond to is because it depends on like the theme and a specific sort of like the extent that you can talk about that topic. All that Keyword Cupid is saying, and that's why Keyword Cupid it's not necessarily an SEO tool. It's more of a word understanding tool. Like I have people who are using it for their bots. Like they're actually feeding the text that comes out from their client bots, and it lets it organize what sort of things their clients are asking to their automated dialers, the automated chatbots. But so what Keyword Cupid tells you, or whatever clustering tool you're using, is that you have a specific theme and a specific topic that's talking about one thing. If you can talk about that thing for 500 plus words and you can actually extend it, it makes sense to have its own page. But sometimes maybe people want to create a skyscraper content where they want to combine different things, not just have a specific article about their how-to. Then it makes sense to have them in different sections. All it really tells you is that for that specific topic that has the how-to, once you're opening and developing it, you will probably see the same exact theme and the same exact pattern. And there's going to be a slight variation in the other kind of topics that emerge.
Because the whole idea is that you have a theme that if there's a page that's well optimized for this theme, it's going to rank for these keywords over here.
Yes, exactly. And that's the whole point. The issue here, and that's where things become a bit more complex, is that the fact that you have a site, the Neil Patel site that I mentioned before, that is ranking for everything, is it the good way to go? Because then you could see like a page that's ranking for everything under the sun, and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to optimize for everything. But the moment that, like, and that's why machine learning algorithms can do things, they don't just do things automatically. They do things that a human cannot necessarily do, because they're analyzing 100 dimensions. They're analyzing variations in page 2 and page 3, and they are finding those minute kind of differences of like, how to fix leaky gutters, I think was a keyword, and leaky gutter repair.
Leaky guts probably one too.
Yeah.
Different edge, but yeah.
Why are those two things different, right? Because the first one, and the reason that I'm saying do not use NLP tools when you're doing this thing is because you're using sort of pre-trained vectors like BERT and everything that has been used back in 2014 or whatever it was created to sort of influence and bias the algorithm. Once you're using just simple, like the SERP data, like simply not anything that just biases or the keyword counts or the...
For sure.
Well, even Common Crawl, like that they say they're using, they're training that and cleaning it. Like, yeah, you can get the same source data, but you think they're using it out of there. No. And one, I wanted to point out, like, Leo mentioned using this in different ways, and I think like if you have like a chat bot and you do customer service and have tickets and you clean out like your logistics stuff and you have so many data sources if you think outside of the box, rather than just going to a keyword research tool that will put you in a situation where you're actually tailoring to people that you know are already converting on your website, and now you can expand that into a bigger segment and more people. So it's definitely a tool that I can see it as. I could say it's a link building tool. I can say it's a keyword
link building,
tool. You know, I can say it's a market research tool. It's definitely has a lot of uses. I think that it's important to point out to think outside the box. And on that note, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, if you haven't jumped in and you don't have a ticket for 2021 and NFG, like the outside of the box stuff is what we really want to sit down and get into with everybody. So if you're on the fence, jump in now. We're getting close to full, I think, at this point, and the hotel is almost filled completely. So
I think
move on that. What's that?
I'm pretty sure it's full.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
No, I'm pretty sure the hotel is full.
Is it full already?
I think so.
It's close if it's not.
Maybe. We'll see. So Leo, really, dude, thank you for coming on, man. That was
Thanks for having me,
bro.
Yeah, it was fun. I'll do this again.
I know, anytime, dude. Anytime. It's fun, man. I enjoy these talks. It's fun when you get it. Yeah.
As Mike mentioned, we'll be taking a deeper dive here in a few minutes on the pre-event webinar, and then when the event comes to fruition, then we'll be, going that much deeper. So
I will take one or two more questions because I need. Hey, Michael, what's up, dude? I need to push this for another 5 minutes before I can cut the feed. So I can't market it the way I like to market it unless I hit that hour mark, bro.
You got 4.5 minutes, 3.5 minutes,
we're
right?
Gonna sit here and I actually have a question because I know there's some YouTubers in here, Leo. I know that you recently released an article on using keyword Cupid for YouTube, right? Can you just tell us what the general idea of what that was, and I'm going to let them know to go read that. Actually, go find that URL while you do.
So in a sense, we're just giving some ideas of like how to do YouTube SEO, and what to look, what to optimize. But the good thing, and again, I don't want to get too much into the weeds because these are private strategies that people have shared with me. But bottom line is that there is a specific and a lot of focus right now on YouTube around interlinking different playlists and different videos and different what you have inside your playlist with relative sort of relevant theme. And that happened from music, and we can just analyze it more. But if you want to have an edge, really think outside of the box of what are you interlinking in the body of the description and also in the same playlist, because the playlists are important and they are mining it a lot more. It's not just enough to just put keyword stuff your description anymore and just focus on CTR. There's a lot more things that are gonna come to play. And YouTube is a big medium, so think that too.
And and Marco actually has done, we've talked a lot of YouTube over the last like 6-7 years, and the stuff that Leo is mentioning here is something that I would recommend focusing on. And it's the same, YouTube search is the same as competition is the same as like an organic search. If you're getting creative here, you can slip past all these big boys and have videos right where you want them to be if you do it right. So
and also one other thing is that like prepare for the future. I think that's another point, because CTR and sort of gray hat, black hat will get you a certain way, but how do you prepare for the future? And you are positioned in a way that you are an authoritative piece of content with empathy and with everything into account in order to communicate with your market audience. So I think like that this should be like the overarching kind of thing of all the endeavors.
Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. Brad, I'm getting questions about the next, like for people that are going to the event, the next URL for the webinar. Do you have that handy and I can just drop it in where they could register, or is that in the members area easiest way?
I've told everyone it's in the members area. I can give you the link.
Yeah, give it to me and I'll send it to a couple people that should have it, and I won't put it public. And then also for that, I guess what I'll do is I'll put up it's NFG 2021 if you wanted to jump on the actual event and the webinar we're doing now for the pre-event and stuff. So for those of you that asked, there you go. That's the one that can get you in there. We're going to start a few minutes late because I'm going to let this go for a couple more minutes, but we'll talk to you guys then. Fletch, that AI I was talking to you about, we're actually going to be using this on a live campaign here in a second, I think. So they did get a demo scheduled, and it is for next week. Is Tuesday like going to work for you in the afternoon, or do I need to shift that?
Tuesday's a good day. Yep.
Okay. All right. Awesome, man.
Yep.
Cool. And that's actually, it's really interesting because I don't believe you can fully like take away a human out of building a persona, and that's not my whole point of this. What I'm talking about with Fletch is a way to use AI to help build these customer profiles and these journeys. But having a way to take data that you already have and create these avatars, I think it can be a very big heads up, and it's been kind of beneficial with some of the stuff we played around with it in. I know with you, Fletch, how often do you think you're thinking about like who a buyer is, dude? Like, is it like a daily thing?
Oh, more than every day. Yeah, it really is. I consider it with every decision I make. Like, with the somewhat rare exceptions of when I'm just, cleaning keyword lists before I'm getting ready to run them through Keyword Cupid or something like that. But even then, like, I'm considering who the person that might have typed this screwy thing in. It's like, oh yeah, somebody might have typed that. I say it's not even like somebody might have typed that. Like, I really try to get in a place where I'm feeling like the person who has got this issue, right? This thing that's going to open up into the world I want to help them see and make sense out of.
Method SEO, man. I think somebody like should sort of incorporate that. Like, it is what you're saying. Like, you have like a method actor where you have to live through your thing.
Yeah.
I think there's that's exactly what you're describing. I think it's brilliant.
It's funny. I talk about SEO.
I agree, Leo. Brilliant. It's brilliant.
That aren't in SEO, and some of my best ideas have been talking about a campaign with somebody, and then all of a sudden they're talking about how that relates to their life, and all of a sudden you have a whole new freaking category of your website, dude. It's pretty amazing. So, all right, I'm going to cut this. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Leo, again, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll talk soon, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Later, fellas.